So you may or may not remember a while back on the channel, we discussed an interesting story around Nintendo and the Dolphin emulator and Steam, because this emulator was supposed to be headed to Steam OS so you could boot it up on things like the Steam Deck very seamlessly, or just through your Steam launcher on the PC, you would have access to arguably one of the greatest emulators on the market today, as it plays such beloved libraries of games, of course, from the GameCube and Wii era. It runs both essentially the same, and it allows you to set up things like Wiimote and motion controls on a PC if you have the correct equipment, or you can opt to assign those motion controls to traditional analog style movements, and it's a great thing when it comes to game preservation. And there's definitely some arguments online around whether or not this emulator is entirely legal due to the fact that you don't have to provide your own system BIOS for it. But I personally am a fan of Dolphin emulator, and I love having access to up-res old classic GameCube and Wii era games and customize the controls how you see fit. And it definitely would have been a win for the Steam community to be able to easily support this. And the reason it is back in the news today has to do with an update from the Dolphin team themselves, fully confirming that this unfortunately will not be brought to Steam anymore, and even using words like impossible around the probability of it ever coming in the future. And to first get on the same page with this update and where Dolphin may be headed as a whole from here, let's quickly hop over to VGC and read through their detailed typed up article together. GameCube and Wii emulator Dolphin is no longer coming to Steam. The team behind the emulator has called a Steam release impossible. Having indefinitely postponed Dolphin's Steam release earlier this year, the team behind the software has now said it's abandoning its efforts to bring the emulator to Valve's marketplace in an official capacity. What actually happened was that Valve's legal department contacted Nintendo to inquire about the announced release of Dolphin emulator on Steam, it explained. In a reply to this, a lawyer representing Nintendo of America requested Valve prevent Dolphin from releasing on the Steam store, citing the DMCA as justification. Valve then forwarded us the statement from Nintendo's lawyers and told us that we had come to an agreement with Nintendo in order to release on Steam. Considering the strong legal wording at the start of the document and the citation of the DMCA law, we took the letter very seriously. It added, so after a long stay of silence, we have a difficult announcement to make. We are abandoning our efforts to release Dolphin on Steam. Valve ultimately runs the store and can set any condition they wish for software to appear on it. But given Nintendo's long-held stance on emulation, we find Valve's requirement for us to get approval from Nintendo for a Steam release to be impossible. While it's often argued that emulators are legal and its use of ROM images of games which contain copyrighted data, which is illegal, it's recently been suggested that Dolphin may be at fault because it includes the Wii Common Key, a cryptographic key used by the Wii to decrypt games. Speaking to Kotaku, a Nintendo spokesperson said, Nintendo is committed to protecting the hard work and creativity of video game engineers and developers. This emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measures and runs illegal copies of games. Using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development and ultimately stifles innovation. Nintendo respects the intellectual property rights of other companies and in turn expects others to do the same. Following the news that the Steam version of Dolphin had been blocked, developer and emulation expert Modern Vintage Gamer posted a video claiming that Dolphin may struggle to win this particular battle due to its use of the Wii Common Key. This is something that Nintendo has obviously gone through and said, aha, these are ours, these belong to us, these are in our copyrighted BIOS files, these do not belong to you, and this is enough for us to now issue a DMCA takedown, he explained. So again, unfortunate news for the Steam community. The good thing is, if you own a PC and you still want to enjoy the Dolphin emulator to play classic GameCube and Wii titles, you can still do so. This thing is still up and running on everything else it has been developed for up to this point in time, and it doesn't look like Nintendo is really going to go out of their way to try to change any of that, although it is interesting to see them issue a DMCA towards this emulator, and I think they have more of an issue with stuff like this going into some kind of more traditional marketplace and storefront, whereas if you go to Dolphin's website to download the emulator, you're kind of jumping through a few more hoops than what an average consumer may go through to set up and play classic games. Inherently, the emulation community tends to be a little bit more on the tech savvy side, and you could argue that somebody who picks up a Steam Deck may be more of a casual user that may just hop into the store and download Dolphin, and now, next thing, they have access to play tons of Nintendo's classic releases. We're still waiting on games like Super Mario Galaxy 2 to maybe be brought to Switch and modern platforms or not. We got the whole 3D All-Stars collection pack, but a Wii classic like that is just left to die on the Wii as far as we know. There's a ton of other games we could go on and on with again, and I do think that some of Nintendo's care for you emulating these older games actually does somewhat tie into their strategy with Nintendo Switch Online, because while systems like the GameCube and the Wii are left out of the available libraries today, I fully believe that we will be seeing Nintendo Switch Online roll forward to the next generation Nintendo console, maybe rebranded to something like NSO 2.0, or it'll get some kind of overhaul update, and they may launch it with something like GameCube support out of the gate. And I think that Nintendo is holding a lot of value on these classic GameCube and Wii era games specifically, not only because they were such classic iconic games, but also they were developed at a time graphically where Nintendo hasn't veered that far off of the graphical capabilities since those systems were out. And if you do something like a simple HD upres and add in things like widescreen support and streamline some of the controls for modern day gaming, you can resell and re-release these titles individually, or you will see a large amount of gamers go out and sign up for a subscription service if that's how Nintendo chooses to lock these games away behind their paywall. So all in all, not a massive blow to the Dolphin emulator as a whole, but it is an unfortunate announcement for Steam fans that were looking forward to this, and you could now pretty much put to bed any expectations that we may see this emulator ultimately make it to Steam devices in the future. But I really want to hear from you guys at this point in the video. What's your stance on this Dolphin emulator situation? Do you think that due to them using some of those BIOS encrypted files, that they're essentially in the wrong here and they really need to rework some of that stuff before talking about bringing Dolphin to any other platforms? Or are you somebody that thinks if we don't have an easy way to play these games and pay for them nowadays, that emulation should be fair game and game preservation is the bigger argument that's worth fighting for in things like this? And bonus question, let me know which classic Wii and GameCube era games are your favorite and that you would like to see brought back playable in some form or fashion today. So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before we leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.